Hello, and welcome to this webinar where we will be speaking about the Mediterranean. My name is Joost Ouendag, and I am joined, these are folks you can't see, by Benjamin Katabas and by James Prismal, who will help me along on my journey. This is all live, and if anything goes wrong, you might have one of the gentlemen correct me. But we've done this before, not the first rodeo, so I think we're going to be off to a great start. Welcome to Viking, first of all. And let me show you a map of our world. Everywhere on this world map, where you see a flag and where you see the name of a port, that's where we go. And you see an awful lot of this, of course, in Europe, because that is the homeland of the Vikings. And we're very close to our Viking heritage. It's where a lot of our river cruises take place. And finally, it is where the Mediterranean Sea is. And that's our focus for today. Um, Viking has been recognized over the years and for 9 years straight now by Travel and Leisure readers as the world's best ocean cruise line in its category, and that means we're a small ship. We have under 1,000 berths, and that allows us to maneuver in places where a lot of larger ships do not go. And we're very, very comfortable in that particular segment. We believe that that's a great way to travel. Anything a bit larger gets a little cumbersome. Anything smaller doesn't allow you to have the kind of ships that we have. But I'll get to that in a little while. Um, Normally, NAS traveler readers have see us in the same light, and you can see on the right-hand side of this particular slide, um, where we rank compared to our competitors. With that, I will stop bragging and I will explain to you why we believe it's a great idea for you to travel with us and how we do this, because this is very important. Um, we launch into this right away. We're destination focused, we're culturally enriching, and we carefully curate our programming. And this is essentially one of these are the five cornerstones of our philosophy, if you will. um and this is important. We're not trying to be everything to everyone. If your idea of a cruise is more to spend a lot of time on the ship and have drinks on the sun deck and maybe enjoy water slides and what have you not, then that's great. And there are cruises out there. The Viking cruise is not for you. We focus on the English speaking couples and other family groups with curious minds and an interest in history, in culture, and geography. Um, One of the things, and this is not unimportant, we don't do family travel unless all the children are above 18. But we get to what we don't do in a minute as well, or maybe that's a little later on in the presentation. We're very much destination oriented. When I spoke about people that travel on a ship because they like being on the ship, that's not our philosophy. Our idea is you go on a ship because it's a super way to visit places in the world. We're very much about the destination. Um, we offer an inclusive product. We don't want you to worry about any extra charges, hidden charges, things that come up that you weren't aware of. You kind of pay what's on the ticket when you book. And we have optional shore excursions that you can book, but you can book those relatively early in. And that means by the time you walk up to the gangplank and onto the ship, you've basically covered everything that you would like to cover. Um, we're efficient. We try to be as efficient as we possibly can. Part of that, for instance, is our ships are identical. It literally, you can imagine that we work from the same blueprint of our ships. It's less expensive. That's one thing. It's more efficient, and it allows you to experience every one of our ships as if it's every one of our other ships. It's really a very convenient way. And I see this every time I'm on a ship. You see that people that have traveled with us before, they know exactly where to go. It's one of the beautiful things about being on a Viking ship, I think. Um, the ships are designed for exploration. You have a lot of outdoor space, sun decks, places to have a dinner under the sky, under the sun, under the stars, whatever it is. Our owner in particular believes very much in having having his food al fresco. So that's one of the things that we focus on. Sister ships, as I mentioned, small ships. And again, we spend as much time in port as we can. This, by the way, this particular slide shows you a ship in the background, and in the foreground, that is the city of Dubrovnik in Croatia. And we'll talk about Dubrovnik in a little bit. We travel to understand and to learn. That learning is not a dirty word on a ship. These are journeys for the thinking person. Um, we start by the time you book. We send you filmographies. We send you little videos that whet your appetite and give you little insights to the destination. We even give you a list of recommended reading. We have activities on board that enhance your experience on shore. They give you context, lectures. We do port talks where we try to prepare you as best as we can, give you background information so that you really know where you're going. It's an enormous part of travel that you actually learn about your destination and don't just visit it without any of that background. Um, and we believe that by having such a very defined idea of who would like to travel with us, you end up traveling with people who are just like you or whose interests match yours. Um, the onboard enrichment is something that I'd like to delve into a little bit more. We have lectures where we have, on the one hand, we have guest speakers that cover a very wide range of topics that have to do with your particular cruise. And then we have our resident historians who work with a set of iconic lectures that we have pre-prepared and that really focus on giving you a framework within which each port visit then falls. The port talks I mentioned, those are really to inform you, get you a bit excited about the next day. We quite often bring performers from the destination on the ship to provide you with a little bit of flavor in the Star Theater in the evenings. We even do cooking demonstrations or tastings in places where we feel that the cuisine, and that's almost everywhere, where the cuisine is such an important part of the local culture. The way that we bring you ashore, the way that we structure our shore excursions, is also quite specific. We provide an included excursion every day. There's no way for you to not experience the port if you don't book it's impossible, and this is what I was going to say, I'm sorry. It's impossible to go into a port and get no sense of what's there. If you go on an included shore excursions, we give you a really good overview of what's there. The optional excursions are if you have particular interest, if you want to deepen your understanding of a place, and if you just want to do, if you want to highlight particular aspects of a port. But we'd rather not have you stay on the ship. If you have an off day, that's okay, but we do really want you to be out there. And we categorize many of our shore excursions in these three categories that you see on the screen. We have things that focus on local life, where it's really a way to meet people in these places. What is a daily life for what does daily life look for someone who runs a farm, let's say, in the hills behind Dubrovnik? I was just speaking about Dubrovnik. What do locals do? What is interesting about the local culture? On a very human scale, on a very human level. The same thing goes for the working world excursions. How do people make their money? What kind of factories are in a particular area? What kind of agriculture is in a place? And if we go to, let's say, a vineyard, we want you to get a sense of the seasons in a vineyard, not just to taste the wine, but also get an idea of what the work is that goes into producing great wines. Finally, because we have been at this now for quite a while, I myself have been with Viking for 22 years, and the company itself is even a little has been in business even a little longer than that. We've built relationships over the years, relationships with specific venues, with specific people, and sometimes we have shore excursions that fall into our privileged access category. These are things that you would never be able to do if you weren't on a Viking ship. It's really the simplest way of explaining it. It goes a little bit beyond the routine visits to places, and we really make use of these relationships that we've built. It can be a particular palace, it can be a particular castle. Like I said, it could even be a particular person. Um, the dining, very, very important, absolutely. And here we kind of balance between serving you the food that you're comfortable with. Remember, it's the way we express ourselves in our tagline is exploring the world in comfort. So part of the food may just be that you want a nice meal that is familiar to you, because the next day you're going to be recharged, and after breakfast, the most important meal of the day, you go and explore, and then you come back to the comfort of the ship. But on the ship itself, you can also experiment a little bit. You can be a little adventurous and try some of the cuisine of the places that we visit, because our chefs come from all over the world, and we do infuse the menus on our ships with the destinations that we visit. Okay, and then we'll show you a little video to give you a quicker idea of what I just spoke about, and with a little bit of video, with a little bit of moving pictures.
These are the voyages our river cruise guests asked us to create. With our river cruises, we've always focused on where you go, not just on how you get there. And our ocean voyages are no different. We reinvented the very nature of the ocean cruise, crafting itineraries for more time in port, so you can explore. So you can immerse yourself in the history, music, art and cuisine of the world's greatest destinations. These are voyages for explorers, cruising the Viking way. Introducing our award-winning ocean ships. When we set out to rethink the ocean cruise, it meant reimagining the ship from inside out, then developing an elegant Scandinavian design to create a spacious, inviting home at sea. These are ships of comfort and culture that will change the way you experience the world. Viking ocean ships are designed for just 930 guests. Our small ships dock in prime locations, closer to the heart of the destinations you want to explore. Using the latest in green technology, all our ships meet the strictest environmental regulations. And with innovative features such as the infinity pool, you'll always be part of your destination, even when you're on board. Dining has also been reimagined, with menus that feature regional specialties made from locally sourced ingredients, as well as always available American classics. And with Viking, you'll find more alfresco dining experiences than on any other ship at sea. Of course, a key part of Viking is our people. Experienced and thoughtful, they bring warmth and insight to every voyage. Whether you sail with us on the world's oceans or her great rivers, you'll always enjoy the exceptional value for which Viking has long been known. Your fare includes a shore excursion in every port, beverages and meals, including wine with lunch and dinner, plus free Wi-Fi, so you can spend your time enjoying your voyage. These are journeys like no other. Travel is about more than just what you see. It's about how you see it and with whom. Set sail with us on voyages that will enrich your mind and nourish your spirit while you explore the world in Viking comfort.
Okay, and now you have some time to ask questions. And by the way, this is something that you can do throughout the presentation. On the right-hand side of your screen, you will find some buttons that allow you to submit questions as they pop into your head. And Benjamin is here to ask me whatever questions have come up so far. Benjamin.
Yes. Hi, Joost.
Super.
Yes, we've received a lot of questions. Let's begin with a question from Derek, Kathy, and several others. How many travelers does each Viking ocean ship accommodate? Kirk is concerned he'll need to fight through crowds. Could you remind us about Viking's guest capacity?
Viking ships have anywhere between 930 and 998 passengers, never more than 1,000. So no big crowds.
All right, perfect. Agnes, Ray, and Ruth are wondering what are the differences between the included excursions and the excursions that they would pay for, what we call optional
Okay.
excursions?
Yes. So again, the included excursions generally give you a good overview of the place that you visit. They pick some of the great highlights, some of the highlights you mustn't miss, and they might add a few little bits and pieces in. But then if you have a specific interest, let's say you would like to go on a little bit of a hike, you're interested in architecture, you're interested in a culinary experience, you would like to cook with some Italians, make some pasta, then those are things that we offer as optional excursions. A, because that's not everyone's cup of tea, and B, because these tend to be very intimate affairs where we simply don't always have the space to do this for everyone on the ship. And that's why they're optional excursions. Think that's a good answer, no?
Yeah, I think that's well put.
Okay. All
Perfect.
right.
And now Barbara expresses some concerns. She says she gets seasick pretty easily. Would there be a better deck or position on the ship to avoid this when booking?
Ooh, in theory, in the middle of the ship. That's the easiest answer because that tends to be where you have the least amount of motion. Having said that, the Mediterranean is a relatively sheltered affair, and while there are, on occasion high winds, it doesn't really happen all that much. It's quite surprising how comfortable the ships are, and this is something I was also going to say. So we picked, I think, the right size of ship. If you get something that's a lot smaller, then you do tend to get a ship that's maybe a little bit more prone to move with the action of the waves. If you have a ship of our size, they tend to be very, very stable.
Thank you, Yost.
Mhm.
Ellen writes, I'm a solo traveler. Would I feel comfortable on a Viking cruise?
Ellen, that was because I said something in the beginning about mature couples. I'm sure that's what touched it off. Um, we have individual travelers. We have family groups. Again, as long as the children are older than 18, we have, and this is kind of a marketing word, and that's why I don't like to use it. But we have cohorts of all shapes and sizes and colors. We welcome everyone that wants what we offer. As long as you're a thinking person, we'll have you. As long as what we offer you appeals, we welcome you. So no, you don't have to be of a very specific age, and you don't have to be married to each other. None of that really matters.
Thank you. We have some questions from Ron, Sandra, Nancy. They're curious to know, is dinner service at a designated time or is there an open window when guests can dine? What's the dress code?
Okay, those are a lot of those are a lot of questions altogether. So, we have several restaurants on the ship. You can get snacks throughout the day in some of these places. The bar is a great outlet if you just want to, at 10 o'clock in the morning, you want to grab a quick sandwich or a croissant or so, and that's also where you can go really early in the morning. The World Cafe has opening times, and you can walk in at any time you want. The restaurant, our largest restaurant, our our prime venue on the ship. That's why we call it the restaurant. That has you do make reservations for dinner, but for breakfast you can just walk in, and then we have two specialty restaurants that you need reservations for. But it's all relatively easy to do. Most of it can be reserved before you even get to the ship. Again, the World Cafe, you can walk in as you see fit during certain windows during the day. And there's a jacket requirement for the two specialty restaurant. We generally tend to ask you to be for dinner, if you will, elegant casual. World Cafe, come as you are. Other restaurants, elegant casual. That means slacks rather than jeans. Um, it means a jacket if you want, but you can also just wear a nice dress shirt. It is we are overall we have a few rules, but they're very few, and we just want dinner to be a somewhat more elegant affair, if you will. I think that answers it. I hope it answered it.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Now here's Michael asking, he's new to Viking. He says, I'm new to Viking. What would you recommend as a cruise for me?
Oh my goodness, Michael. First of all, welcome. And then I really don't know where to begin. So we're talking about the Mediterranean here, and I think what I will be talking about in a minute is I will introduce three cruises to you, and I think the great thing about these cruises is each one of them is only a week long, 8 days. Um, and you can stitch these together. You can basically make it from Barcelona all the way to Istanbul, if you would like to, in 4 weeks. And you could do something from Barcelona to Venice in 2 weeks, or from Rome to Athens in 2 weeks. So there's a lot of variety. It's really hard to start with, well, this is a beginner's cruise and this is something for more experienced travelers. I think the Mediterranean and the Baltic, and that's Scandinavia essentially. Norway is very much part of our what we consider as Viking country, as in not so much the Vikings of yore, but the Vikings of today. Us, we consider Norway, Sweden, Denmark. Those are places that are also at the core of where we take you. It's the Med, and it's Scandinavia and the Baltic. And I think that's where I would probably start if you're new to Viking. Yeah.
Perfect. And keep those questions coming, everyone. We will continue with the Q&A after we go over some of those itineraries that we can recommend to you.
Excellent. So let me give you an idea of why you would want to travel to the Mediterranean. And this will be fast and not furious, but relatively quick to give you a bit of flavor. And then I will delve into these three itineraries that I spoke about. So, um, iconic cities is why you travel to the Mediterranean. A lot of these cities are quite easily accessible. A short bus ride, for instance, takes you from our dock in Livorno to this beautiful city. This is Florence, of course, on the Arno River. Um, we feature historic landmarks. This is, of course, the Acropolis in Athens. Um, and there's so much, it's such a rich cultural blanket, if you will. It's a rich cultural tapestry around the Mediterranean. It's thousands of years of history, and this is one of the reasons why we really enjoy taking you there. Local traditions play a big role. This is a flamenco evening in Barcelona. Local cuisine, I mentioned that earlier. Anywhere we travel, the Mediterranean is really a place for, if I may use that word, for foodies. Museums, we don't leave you at the door. We take you into some of the best museums that we can find in the Mediterranean to give you a deeper appreciation of the art and the culture of the place. And then we're arriving at the Mediterranean itineraries. So let me get started, and I will show you this slide with the Sagrada Familia Cathedral in Barcelona to begin with, and then I will move you from this lineup of days from Barcelona, 2 days in Barcelona, to Sète in France, to Marseille in France, Monte Carlo. But let me show you all of this on a map. And for the purpose of this particular narration that I do during this presentation, we'll just travel from west to east. Okay? From Barcelona, we travel to Sète in France, then Marseille, then Monte Carlo, which is its own tiny little country, in surrounded by France, then to Livorno, from where we reach Florence and Pisa, and then you end in Civitavecchia, which is the gateway to Rome. And this is what you can expect on this cruise. Barcelona, of course, and these are some buildings done by the great architect Antonin Gaudí. This is an overview of the city from Parc Güell. Monsieur Güell was one of the, Signor Güell was one of the big, one of the people that sponsored Gaudí during his early years. And so you will see that name pop up a few times in Barcelona as you follow the architecture of Antoni Gaudí. This is Marseille. This is the cathedral that you see in the middle there, and it's such a beautiful view because you see these ships, and the cathedral, of course, is where the fishermen would go to pray for a safe return. Notre Dame de la Garde. Garder in French means to keep safe. This is Monaco, Monte Carlo, of course, in this case. And then here you have the Duomo of Florence in Italy. Pisa is the other great city of the Italian Renaissance that you can visit while you're in Livorno with the iconic Leaning Tower. You can also travel a little further afield and see Tuscany. I will get back to Tuscany in a little while, but you could also do, if you're not a big city person, you could travel a little bit through the countryside, which is indeed as iconic as this slide suggests. And then you end in Rome. And in Rome, you would have to, I need to make this clear, you would have to add a few days to spend time in Rome because the cruise ends here. And we do offer quite a few extensions on these itineraries to just have you explore more, to just do a little while you're here, while you made all the trouble of flying across the Atlantic to get to your destination. We want you to explore as much as you possibly can. And here's a little video.
Treasures await you on an 8-day Mediterranean journey with Viking. You'll explore some of the most celebrated destinations of the region beginning with the intriguing Barcelona. With 2 days in the Catalonian capital, you'll have time to immerse yourself in Las Ramblas, its boutiques and tapas bars, the old Gothic quarter, and Gaudi's remarkable cathedral, La Sagrada Familia. Then dock in Sète and visit Montpellier, France, once a bustling spice trading city and a centre of learning for centuries under the kings of Aragon. In Marseille, the largest port on the Mediterranean, you can stroll through the picturesque old port, or set out into the countryside of nearby Provence. The tiny Principality of Monaco is a study in contrasts, from its 14th century old town to fashionable Monte Carlo with its casino and fine restaurants. Your next destination, Italy's fabled Tuscany, is revered by romantics. With 2 days here, you can explore the Renaissance attractions of magnificent Florence, as well as the famous Leaning Tower of Pisa and the Square of Miracles. The voyage concludes in the eternal city of Rome, with the opportunity to extend your stay and explore in depth Vatican City, Trevi Fountain, and the towering Colosseum.
Okay, and we continue. The Italian sojourn ends in the city that you see in this slide, and of course, that's Venice. And if you look closely, it begins in Rome. It picks up where the previous itinerary left off. Then you travel to Naples, and I'm going to grab the map again. You travel to Naples, then to Messina on the island of Sicily, Crotone in the boot of Italy, Bari, one of my favorite cities because that's where Saint Nicholas came from, and that's where he's buried. Um, and then Šibenik in Croatia. And the interesting thing is, yes, you're in a different country, and this voyage is called the Italian Sojourn, but of course, Šibenik is one of the Croatian cities that was under the influence of your final destination, Venice. It was very much part of the influence of Venice that extended through the northern Adriatic. A lot of Croatian cities have a very distinct Italian flair. Okay, let me walk you through what you can expect on this voyage. In Rome, of course, the Colosseum is just one of many, many things. And again, I'll keep repeating myself. Book a few days before this particular cruise in Rome before you get started. You have some time to get settled in, recover from your jet lag, and see a few things such as the Colosseum. Naples is another one of my favorite Italian cities. This, of course, is Vesuvio in the background. Naples is, I have to be honest, is a little bit chaotic, but it is just so Italian. It's such a beautiful place. There is so much life in Naples. And of course, Pompeii is just to the south. The Roman ruin, the best of all imaginable Roman ruins. And of course, Naples is also the birthplace of the pizza. At least that's what the people in Naples will tell you. This is the pizza margherita. Comes in the colors of the Italian flag: green, white, and red. And they're brilliant. The pizzas they make in Naples, that is something that I think you have to do when you're in Naples. It allows you to see something of the Amalfi Coast that you see in this slide. And then we're in Sicily. And Sicily, just like Naples, has this volcano looming large in the background. And it's shaped the culture of the island. It's shaping the present because every once in a while there's still a little bit of activity. It's one of the few volcanoes in the world that you can actually visit quite nicely, and we have shore excursions that take you up there. Obviously, not when seismologists tell us not to. Then Bari is and we've skipped Crotone, but that's okay. We just give you a little bit of a flavor. These are the houses in Alberobero, are just outside of Bari. They look a little bit like houses from a storybook, but they're actual houses. They have stone conical roofs, and they're so iconic that they're a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Šibenik in Croatia, I spoke about that. and then you end this voyage in Venice. And we dock in Chioggia, which is on the edge of the Venice Lagoon. In order to get to Venice, actually, on these voyages, we take you on a little cruise across the lagoon, which is wonderful, especially early in the morning. It's a little magical, if you will. There's all kinds of activities. There are fishermen. There are people just in their boats. There are rowers that are just fanatical, practicing, because that's a very big thing in the lagoon. There are birds everywhere. I'm waxing poetically, but it is one of my favorite things. I think in Venice, next slide shows you the glass that is done in Murano and Burano. Obviously, that is a big part of the lagoon, these islands. Venice is only one of many islands in the lagoon, and you can visit more than one if you want. And then before I wax even more poetically, let's show you another video.
Immerse yourself in the wonders of Italy on this spectacular 8-day voyage from Rome with Viking. Naples is one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world, where the pizza is authentic and the attractions epic, including the ruins of UNESCO-listed Pompeii. Heading south, you arrive on the Isle of Sicily and the picturesque cliff-top town of Messina, gateway to majestic Mount Etna and the historic enclave of Taormina. Crotone on the Adriatic coast of Calabria is an unspoiled gem of castles and cathedrals, a quaint old town and fascinating archaeological sites. While Bari, located in the Puglia region, boasts a pedestrian-friendly medieval old town with castles and prehistoric wonders, including the Trulli houses of Alberobello. A brief diversion from Italy takes you across the Adriatic to Croatia and the charming port of Šibenik, whose famous Renaissance cathedral is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. At the top of the Adriatic, your final destination, magical Venice. 2 days in this enchanting city give you the time you need to explore the breathtaking canals, cathedrals, and museums.
Okay, and here we go. Cruise number 3. And by now you've caught on to how this works, right? This one begins where the previous one ended. You spend 2 days in Venice before you set out for the Croatian coast. And I'll show you the map. Here is the map from Venice to Athens. You kind of hug the east coast of the Adriatic Sea and then the Ionian Sea. And this is a little show of Venice in the evening. It's a lovely city any time of day. It gets a little hot sometimes when you're traveling in summer, and then during the day you might want to, do a little bit more frequent coffees or Aperol spritzes on a terrace and not walk as much as you normally would. Split in Croatia is the gateway to the Krka Falls that you see here in this next slide. And it's a great slide, isn't it? It doesn't really do the landscape justice because you walk through this. There's this beautiful wooden walkway, and from all sides, you don't just see the water, you hear it everywhere. And it's an absolutely magical place. We also take you to Dubrovnik, and Dubrovnik is this quintessential city that is still kind of focused. It's not very large. It was shelved quite heavily during the Yugoslav wars, but it's been beautifully and very carefully and lovingly restored to its medieval splendor. It's walled, and it entirely focuses on the harbor itself that you see here. Kotor in Montenegro is at the end of a fjord, and you can see this, and that's kind of an unusual landform in the Adriatic, but this is one of those places where you want to spend a few hours before you get there or a few hours after you leave again on deck to just enjoy the scenery as the ship moves out of that bay. Kotor itself is in Montenegro, and it is a surprisingly small but beautiful little place that is eminently walkable. Then you visit Katakolon. That's the gateway to Olympia. And that, of course, is where the Olympic Games got started. And what you find here a lot are remnants of the Greek civilizations, of course. In the introduction slide, that was a small temple in Olympia. And then you move forward to Athens. There is Corfu, of course, in the middle, but as I mentioned, we skip here and there a little bit. This is the Plaka district. Looks a lot livelier. I suspect that this was a shot that was made early in the morning. It buzzes with activity. It's a great place to eat Greek food, and overlooking it all, of course, is the Acropolis, which is I do think that's a must see. There are two must sees when it comes to the Greek, the history of ancient Greece. The Acropolis is the one, and then the new museum where a lot of the art that came off of the ruins can be seen. That's the other one. It's such a spectacular, beautiful new museum that I think that's also somewhat of a must when you're there. And we will show you a little video of this last itinerary that I'm talking about.
What better place to begin an exciting 8-day voyage with Viking on the Adriatic and Ionian seas than in magical Venice? 2 days in this enchanting city give you the time you need to explore the breathtaking canals, cathedrals, and museums. In Split, Croatia, you can stroll the cobblestone streets of the Old Town, or visit the palace of Roman Emperor Diocletian, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The walled city of Dubrovnik is one of Europe's jewels, a charming port with a beautifully preserved old town of ancient stone buildings and red tile rooftops. Montenegro's Kotor is a treasure of the Adriatic, with narrow streets leading to old palaces, the 12th century Cathedral of St. Tryphon, and the picturesque main square. A distinctive Venetian influence can be felt on the Greek Isle of Corfu, with its scenic old town, 15th century fortress, and tree-lined esplanade. From Katakolon, immerse yourself in the history of ancient Greece at the site of the first Olympic Games at Mount Kronos and the dramatic ruins of the ancient temples of Olympia. Your ship arrives in Athens, your final destination, where you might stay on and discover even more of antiquity's greatest sights.
Okay, and I said that was the last itinerary. I lied. I'm just quickly taking you through some of the other options that you would have in combining voyages and maybe just try something a little longer. The biggest one is really the 29-day Barcelona to Istanbul that covers the entire Mediterranean from west to east or from east to west. And then, because I know that this will be a question, when should we travel to the Mediterranean? One topic that I wanted to address is how about peak season? How about shoulder season? And how about quiet season? The answer to when should we travel to the Mediterranean is any time of year. It all depends on what you absolutely need out of your trip. If you're happy, just like the gentleman here in this image, to wear a bit of a jacket and maybe a sweater, then travel, by all means, travel in January or in February or in December. You get a little bit of a different season. You get a little bit of a different flavor of the daily life in all of these places. It tends to be a little calmer. There tend to be fewer visitors. If you get a little claustrophobic in big crowds, do it in the quiet season. If you're fine with bigger crowds, if you want to be there when the sun's always out and when the skies are blue, then peak season is what you would like to do. And if you want something kind of in the middle, then travel in the shoulder season. It does give you a very surprising new perspective doing it during the quiet season. And then I mentioned these already a few times, really quickly, just to give you an idea of how you can build your own voyage, if you will, by extending for 2 nights in Rome, for instance. We have a great program called Ultimate Italy Tuscany, 3 nights, you actually stay in a Tuscan villa, and then you do a lot of sightseeing in the close proximity, and kind of enjoy this life where you look out over the hills and cypress trees and the olive groves, and you drink a glass of Italian wine. It's that is kind of that experience that is like you imagine it and like you've seen it in picture books. We have a similar program in Umbria, which is bookable from Rome, um, primarily. And here you stay in a little castle and then explore the surrounding area. Madrid for 3 nights allows you to visit Madrid, allows you to visit a little bit of the surroundings of Madrid just before you head to Barcelona. And you can do this before or after the trip. And then finally, real quick, and I'm going to just rattle this down a little bit because I really am looking forward to talking to you about your questions. Um, the inclusive value consists of the complimentary shore excursion in each port of call, the onboard meals. You have dining that doesn't come at an extra charge in our 2 specialty restaurants, wine, beer, soft drinks while on board during lunch and dinner. You have coffees and teas that you can get 24 hours, and they do make a mean flat white by now as well. You have free Wi-Fi so you can stay connected. That is obviously, when you're in the high seas, you can't expect Wi-Fi to be the way it is in a big hotel, but it's pretty good these days. You visit UNESCO sites. We take care of all the port taxes and fees. That's very much an aspect of we don't do hidden fees. We don't present you with an extra little invoice after you've booked. We are very upfront about what you do. We have great enrichments. We have transfers that come with Viking Air purchase. You can also book extra transfers, by the way, if that's what you desire to do. We have room service. We have laundrettes if you need them. And you have access to our spa and our fitness center. And that Nordic spa is a great place on a sea day. And then what we are not. And I think this is internally are proud of this too, because I think it defines that we don't want to be everything to to everyone. We can't. We want to do things right, and that means, for our audience, and that means no children under 18, no casinos, no nickeling and diming, no charges again, for things. We don't do umbrella drinks. We have happy drinks. We have all kinds of drinks, but we're not, we try to be um elegant, a little understated, and not very flashy. We don't do photography sales or art auctions. We don't have inside staterooms. We don't have smoking indoors. There are some very few select places on the ship where you can smoke. Most of our guests don't really smoke anymore, and so on and so forth. Now we're going to take some time to answer questions that people have. Let's go. Take it away.
Yes, and we've got a lot of these questions coming in.
Good.
So Randall asks, in the Mediterranean ports where Viking docks, do we use a tender or would they walk off the vessel in the port cities?
It depends. In many places we go alongside, as it's called. That means you walk off the gangplank and onto the shore. And in some places we do tender. We try not to. We have great tenders. They're very comfortable. But in general, it just takes a little longer. And we do want you to spend most of your time being in the destination, not getting there.
Definitely. And Susan and several others would like to know if there will be time to explore these ports independently or would they be limited to the excursions that Viking provides?
No, no. We encourage you to our included shore excursions are usually a few hours. They're not like 8 or 9 hours. So you will always, when you spend a day in port, you would always have at least half the day to do however you please. You can book an optional excursion or you can do your own thing. And we encourage you to be outside, and how you spend that time is entirely up to you. Go for it.
Go for it, indeed. Yes, thank you. Yes. Jane and others are asking, you had mentioned the combination itineraries, those longer Mediterranean
Mhm.
journeys that we offer. Would someone who books that stay on the same ship in the same stateroom throughout?
Yes. Now, some of these are if you will, natural they're in a natural sequence. If you happen to pick two that could connect but don't connect on the same ship, it's really easy to find out. Most of them, yes, you would, like the ones that I just talked about, those you always book in a string. And quite often they have their own names. You can book them in. It happens rarely that you end up picking things where you would need to change ships. That's very, very seldom. And that's when you're really picky and go like, oh, I really just want this and then this. Um, and it may be a combo that is not as obvious or not um as easy. But normally, yes, you always stay on the same ship. Same ship, same stateroom. Easy.
Perfect. Thank you. And Deborah was really struck by Monte Carlo that we visit on the iconic Western
Mhm.
Mediterranean. She'd like to know, does Viking visit the Casino de Monte Carlo in Monaco?
We cannot take you inside the casino because the casino doesn't allow guided tours. But, and here we go back to, do I have any time to explore on my own? Yes, you can. Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you. Tim is inquiring if there are any opportunities at night that allow for stargazing while they're out at sea.
Yes, of course. Depending on which ship you're on, we have two ships, and you would need to ask your travel advisor or our call center because off the top of my head it escapes me. I think it's the Mars and the Jupiter that have resident astronomers that do that. That organize stargazing sessions. Yes, yes.
Perfect. And then Diego's wondering, does Viking offer a laundry service on our ships?
Yep, we do. You can have it taken care of by our people on the ship, and if it's a little bit, you could also just stick it in the guest laundry. But yeah, we do offer laundry service. Yep.
Angela's inquiring about what is UNESCO? You had mentioned UNESCO a few times, and she was
Yes.
wanting to learn a little bit more about that.
Okay. So the UNESCO is a cultural organization that the easiest way to think about it is they look at uh, cultural heritage sites, and it can be anything. It could be a building, it could be a whole city. In France, for instance, all the fortifications that were done in the era of Louis XIV, they're all one big UNESCO World Heritage Site. So the site actually has um, several, it consists of several sites. The windmills at Kinderdijk are a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So it's an organization under the auspices of the United Nations that basically rank or puts people puts these buildings or these sites on a list. And in order to qualify for that list, these sites have to fulfill certain very specific requirements. They have to be of great significance to the world. They have to be they have to be accessible. They have to be not spoiled by a lot of modernity. Some UNESCO World Heritage sites have lost that designation because they would build, there's one on the Elbe in Germany where they built this god awful blue bridge across this beautiful. The World Heritage Site was the valley of the Elbe River, and that bridge kind of, well, it didn't improve the view. And so UNESCO said, "Look, you're doing damage to what makes this such a unique place," and they got delisted very sadly. So they're around the world places of enormous cultural significance.
Thank you very much. That's useful to know. Alice says she's new to international travel and she'd like to know what about money? Is it all euro in the Mediterranean?
Let's see. In the Mediterranean, it is all euro. In Croatia, they still also use the koruna, but more and more the euro is accepted. Um, You will also find that a lot of these places by now are quite well equipped with ATMs. And the days where you would travel and go to your bank and get an envelope with this money and get another envelope with that currency and get another envelope with those bills are over. Um, you really, especially in Europe, people accept credit cards quite willingly, not for very small amounts. For that, you would need a little bit of cash, but you can get this at an ATM machine. It's really quite convenient. Tips, for instance, are generally done, and this is for local guides and for drivers. Small little tips, a few euros here, a few euros there. Those you would need cash for. But the first port that you visit, find an ATM. It's easy enough, and you'll have a little bit of money at hand. And I wouldn't get an enormous amount because there will be an ATM in the next port.
That's great to know. Thank you. And Richard is asking, and this is pretty apt for the Mediterranean, can he bring his own wine on board?
Yes, yes, please do so. We don't charge corkage fees. We believe that this is very much part of the cultural experience that you drink what the people in these locales produce. So have at it, Richard.
Perfect. And Vivian is concerned, what about drinking water? How does that work on the ships? Does she have to purchase that?
No, 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 of course not. You don't have to purchase drinking water. No, we have carafes of drinking water available to you. And in most places you could, if you're out there somewhere, you can buy bottled water. And in most places you can actually also drink the water. Much of Europe has pretty good water infrastructure. So you'll never be without. You'll never go thirsty. If you want, one of the things that I generally do when I travel is just bring your own water bottle, and you can fill that. The restaurant will be more than happy to do that for you. The waiters will be more than happy to do that for you, or you do it in your own stateroom, and then you travel with that. That saves you a plastic bottle. There you go.
There you go. Perfect.
Mhm,
Thank you. William and Dwight, Kathleen, Rhonda, we've got a lot of questions on gratuities. How does
mhm.
gratuities work on the ocean vessels?
Okay, so we can include the gratuities when you book, so that way you know. You have a degree of discretion, of course, as well. And then on shore, local guides, local drivers, uh, people that do you great favors, or that really provide you with a service. That was a strange way of putting it. Great favors. No, people that provide you with a service, you can leave small amounts. In restaurants, 10% by now is quite common. It depends a little bit from country to country and from tradition to tradition. Most of the places that you visit in the Med, there is a bit of an expectation, but it's not mandatory. And in some restaurants by now that are in areas where a lot of visitors congregate, you will probably find that it's included on the bill. It's less of a culture still than it is in the U.S.
Thank you, yes.
Mhm.
So we're nearing the end of our scheduled end time of 11 a.m. Pacific, but we've received so many great questions that we still haven't had the chance to address yet. For those of you viewers who need to leave, we completely understand and we appreciate you joining us today. But if you're able to stay for just a little bit longer, and if Yost is fine with that, we can continue the Q&A
I'm
session for
fine.
a few more
Yep.
minutes. Great, and
Yep.
we'll answer a couple more questions then.
Mhm.
And we'll start with another one here from Kate, who'd like to know what can she do in the Nordic spa that is included in the fare?
The services in the Nordic Spa are all at an additional expense, but you have the access to the pool area itself. So you can just relax, and there's a sauna, there's the snow grotto. That's probably is one of the best places on the ship. It's in a it, it- there- it's The Nordic spa is based on Nordic ideas of bathing and of you know taking care of your body. And so there's a sauna, there's hot, there is cold in that snow grotto, and there is temperate, which you have in the pool. So you have splendid access for anything that it doesn't include a massage or a facial or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, you can spend a few hours there every day, relaxing and trying out that snow grotto. It's brilliant.
Sounds rejuvenating. Thank you.
Yep.
Let's see here. We have Are there any travel requirements or visas for US citizens that need to visit these countries in the Mediterranean?
There is this new travel document. I always forget the name of it. Benjamin, help me out here.
Yes, the
The
ETIAS, the TIAS.
ETIAS. Yes. Yes. And that happens by mid 2025. Those become mandatory. They're documents that you can all get online, and they're easy peasy. They're not difficult to obtain. Um, they're small little travel documents. You do need that, but that becomes par for the course. And if you have any questions about that, you will find information on our website, or again, you call your travel advisor or you call our call center, and they'll be more than happy. This is not a hurdle. Don't worry about it.
Thank you. See, moving on to a couple questions. Quite a few people are really interested in the dining situation here.
Mhm.
Buffets. Do we offer just buffets on our cruises
No, no,
or
no, no, no. No, 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 no. And you know this, Benjamin. No, no, the World Cafe is a buffet style restaurant. The other restaurants are not. So you have plated service mostly. Again, we and there's at the pool grill you can grab a burger. Some of it is very informal. Some of it is very, you walk up in the cafe that is off the living room, or the big atrium that where the reception area is. We have this little cafe, and you can get your cappuccinos there, and you just walk up, or someone comes to the little table that you sit at. You can get table service, but there is it's not like buffet lines. We don't have any of that. I think this is part of, the size of the ship allows us to have a lot of public space. You never feel like you're lining up for something. And if for the entire voyage you never want to be at a buffet, that's entirely possible without any kind of difficulty. So there you have it.
All right, perfect. Now, Gary is asking, are vegetarians served well? Shannon talks about how she is gluten free. And is it possible to
Yep.
have enough variety
Yep.
for all three meals for our different dietary requirements?
Yes. Yes. The earlier we know about it, the better off we are. We can put a note in your booking. And then when you get on board, you can talk to the reception, and they will help you. They will convey this to the chef. You can even do it in the restaurant. We have the options on the menu for starters, and the chefs are always happy to work with you, whatever it is that you need. We can't guarantee that we can cover everything, but yeah, it's very common by now. We have vegetarian dishes, we have vegan dishes, we have all sorts of things, and gluten free is certainly also an option. Yeah. Hmm.
Perfect. And finally, on the subject still of dining, we have a guest that's asking Mark, what are the differences between the alternative dining options and the restaurant that you had mentioned?
Well, so we have the chef's table, which serves a set menu every night, and you kind of cover the world with that. It's great fun. It's a little bit more formal. It takes a little bit of time, but you get, let's say, you get a food inspired by a country like Korea, or food inspired by China, and then you have Manfredi's, which is a favorite for a lot of returning guests. It's an Italian place. It serves all kinds of things from pasta dishes to bistecca fiorentina, and everything in between. That's a great place. Um, I think that's wherever I visit ships, I tend to kind of at some point end up in Manfredi's. It's a beautiful place, very congenial.
Thank you, Yost. Now, regarding booking, we have some guests asking, does Viking provide air travel services, or would they have to book air travel on their own?
Nope. We do all of that. And here's how it works. Um, we get you to places relatively inexpensively if you don't mind having a flight schedule that is not exactly optimized. If you have very specific, and what I'm saying is, you may have a connection, and depending on where you live, we try as much as we possibly can, and that's the case in over, I think I don't remember the exact number, but more than half of the time you will fly directly to your destination. Sometimes you have to change planes somewhere, but overall, if you have very specific needs, you can get Air Plus, where you pay a small fee, and then we start looking to make sure that you get exactly what you need. Overall, a lot of our guests make use of our Air Teams services, and overwhelmingly, this works out really, really well. The great thing about it is also that when you book your air through us, you have a transfer included. And let's be honest, that moment where you walk out of customs in a foreign country, that's when you really need someone to hold your hand a little bit and say, hello, welcome to Rome, welcome to Barcelona. Let me take you to a coach and let me bring you to the ship. So those transfers are included when you book air with us. You can book these transfers with us at an additional um, small amount of money or nominal fee, if you don't book your air with us. But we can really take care of all of your travel arrangements, and we're happy to do so. We like it that way because we feel that we have a little control. We're in charge of you, and we like it that way.
Thank you very much, Yost, for taking the time to answer all of our viewers' questions, well, some of them. We apologize for running a bit long, but we hope you've all taken some valuable information from our session today. We have received so many more questions than we can answer, and for those guests who still have questions that we were unable to get to, we'll soon be in touch with answers to your queries. This webinar link will be shared to rewatch later, so we'll send the link out to everyone who registered, as well as posting it up on Viking.TV.
Thank you for
Thank you very
watching.
much. Thank you, Yost.